Welcome to the Football Historian Podcast.
By all means, enjoy it.
He will go right to the very top.
Dos, tres, cuatro times.
Here we go, Germans.
I will turn these results round.
All right, that's good manners.
There's animosity, but there's no fight.
If you can't beat them, join them.
How do you make me feel sick if I look at you?
No, I want to fight here.
Don't drink, don't sleep with women, don't drive fast cars.
Sometimes it may be good, sometimes it may be shit too!
Hello, welcome to the Football Historian Podcast. Today I'm delighted to be joined by Adam Hammill. I'm sure a lot of people say this to you and you'll know, but I think we've had quite a few big names in here, but you think you're the first legend that we've had in here. In that Barnsley, you are an absolute legend. We're definitely going to go on to it, but yeah. Do you know that? Are you aware of that?
Do you know what? Not necessarily. Only this year alone, I've been down twice. I've done a few things around the ground, into the sweetener and around the place, and just to still get recognised. I went on the pitch at half time in the Stockport game, and literally for 10 minutes they sung my name. And I don't look at myself upon as a legend, but they well and truly reaffirmed it for me. So. It's always nice to go back and get a little bit of recognition. Yeah,
well, we'll go on to Barnsley later, but we'll start at the start, which is you spotted as a 6-year-old before you played for Liverpool. That's, I think you said it's younger than you are allowed to go into the academy. But were you by far the youngest, and were you by far that good? That's how you got spotted.
Yeah, well, basically, I remember starting at 5. So I'm originally from Seaforth, and I joined the team in Liverpool, Pavilion Tigers. So from 5 till I was at, what was it called, Tiny Tots then, and then it went into Pavilion Tigers. And basically got spotted at 6. I remember at the old Melwood, we used to go in and train on a Tuesday and a Thursday. And it wasn't until obviously a few sessions in, they've asked for your date of birth and to get you signed up, and they soon realised that I was a year too young. But I ended up staying for the full year during training with them, obviously not playing, but as soon as I turned 6, then straight away.
The big old age of 6, yeah.
6, 7, yeah.
So is that like, that must be a bit weird, even as a kid, are you like thinking then, are you telling everyone I'm playing for Liverpool, or are your mum and dad picking you up, or is it just like that you just training there and it just is what it is?
To be honest, I didn't even look at it like that. I just went and played football. Any chance I got to play football possible, I'd take it. Whether that was in school, whether that was with my mates, or obviously at Liverpool. But at the time I didn't really think too much into it. As you say, being that young, you don't. But it wasn't until I got a little bit older, and I do remember getting taken into, was it a Coca-Cola semi-final against Middlesbrough? They took me in to meet all the players, and just before the kick-off, and obviously you go around, and I thought, well, obviously this is a massive club. I did support Liverpool, but it wasn't until then that I sort of, it dawned on me how big it was, and obviously how highly I was thought of as a young age.
Yeah, and as you say there, you're a Liverpool fan as a kid, so even at that young age, and even when you're beginning to realise that you're playing for Liverpool, maybe more so, is it still like huge pride just to wear the shirt?
Oh, it is, yeah, definitely. It wasn't until, I'd say you get to about 10, 11, where you do start understanding, how big the club is, and you're travelling to away games then. So initially you're only playing a few games around the Northwest, but then you get to a certain age where you're travelling 3-4 hours on a coach, and you're playing the big teams, Man U, the Evertons, obviously Cities, Newcastle, Sunderlands, and you go travelling on a Sunday, and you go all over the country. My dad used to follow me every game, home and away, and that's when it sort of dawned on you.
Yeah, that this was getting serious and going towards a career. Well, as you say, you were there from 7 to 21 at Liverpool, if that's correct. Well, 6, as we said before. Sorry, yeah. So, and I think I heard you say somewhere that when you were a scholar, they were, to quote you, the best years of your life.
Yeah.
Would you stand by that, and why were they so good?
I think it was just the carefree attitude of, your mates are going off to forge your career in, say, gas engineering or whatever they're doing. You're going in to do something you love. And you're going in with your mates, a group of mates that you've obviously known over the years. So you've already got that camaraderie amongst you. So I just used to love going in, having a little bit of banter, training hard. And yeah, I think obviously after the Youth Cup, when we won that's when I sort of switched, where I thought, right, this is it now. I can really make a mark and obviously go on to try and get into the first team or around it or the reserves, and that's where obviously the first few loans come in.
Yeah, so talk about the Youth Cup as well. It's 2014. There's a goal against Carlisle. Is it from the halfway line? That's top end. Well, more or less closest you're gonna get. Top end. Obviously, I know it's still not the first team or whatever, but be a Liverpool fan, being trying to make your name, scoring from the halfway line. You put the I just listened to the commentary. They said you were by far the best player on the pitch in a 5-0 win. You booked your place in the semi-final. Is that one of the best feelings that you've had, that goal at that stage?
Yeah, at that stage, most definitely. It was a highlight because obviously every kid dreams of scoring at Anfield. And then it was the cherry on top with it being in front of the Kop, your friends and your family there. Yeah, I do. I remember it was later on in my career, I never used to get nervous for games, even the Wembley visits. I just took it in my stride, but I remember that day, the lead up to it, and the nerves, the anticipation of playing under the lights at Anfield. I think there was a few first teamers that come down and watched a few games, so it's that added pressure. But that was where I thrived, to be honest, under pressure. Yeah,
and then as you say, you went on to semis, the final. You part of that team. I know you've already said in there you feel like there was a pathway through it, but on loan started. But if you'd have asked you at that stage where you're going to play for Liverpool, do you think that your answer would have been yes? Definitely, yeah.
Fully would have believed it, yeah. I was a confident kid. I think I'd become disillusioned because the amount of loan deals that I did go on, and obviously it's difficult because I went out on 3 or 4, and every year you come back for pre-season, there's another 2 players in front of you. And I'm thinking to myself, I've just played 40 odd games in the Championship, and you're bringing in 17-year-old kids who've got a place ahead of me. Whether it would be in a tour, a pre-season match, and I don't know, it's just in the end, just to forge your career, I knew I had to obviously look further afield.
Yeah, and then maybe a big reason for those loan moves was Rafa Benitez. Before you going away, sorry, you're obviously searching for first team football, but do you think had it been... So Gerard Houllier, I would say, was a very welcome and warm manager. So the last guest we had was Chris Kirkland. Do you think if it was Houllier who was at that stage, you'd have had more chance of getting in, or was that just the way the game was going?
I think if you look back upon when I was at Melwood, I went up to Melwood, I think, 17. It's relatively young. And I had a few years training with the first team and around it. I think I was a little bit immature. I wasn't physically developed as much as the other players at that time, but I definitely had the technical ability, and it was just about harnessing it. Yeah, I understand what you're saying about Rafa. He come across cold, calculated, callous at times, but he never used to call me by my name. He used to call me Hammill. Hey, Hammill, come here. Hammill, do this. And I remember thinking to myself, like, what have I got to do to get called Adam? But he very rarely spoke to me. I just remember going out on loans, getting reports, coming back, speaking to the likes of Gary Ablett, who was in charge, or John McMahon, who, believe it or not, actually advised me to seek pastures new, because they could see it was becoming harder and harder to make that bridge to the first team. And I think at the time, when I was there was a lot of influence of foreign players, even in the reserves. So it was so difficult just to get that chance. You look at that team, you had Sebastian Leto, Gonzalez. There were so many players that could play in the same position that in the end, you'd be scrapping for 5 games a season if you stayed, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's not what you want. Once you got a taste of first team football, that's it. That's the be all and end all. That's where you want to be. You're playing, like, I was fortunate enough when I was 18, 19. My first loan move was to Dunfermline, which I fully enjoyed, but I had the opportunity to play in a cup final, albeit a Scottish cup final. It was an FA Cup final in front of 65,000 people. And I remember that feeling after the game, going back to Melwood, thinking, I don't want to be playing in front of 100 people in reserves no more. I wouldn't say I was too good enough to do that, but I felt like I bypassed it. And it's the saying, innit? If once you've experienced first team football, there's no going back.
Yeah.
And it's just that buzz.
Yeah, well, as you say, there's a lot of people who thought similarly to you. We've had David Raven and we've had John Welsh, and they've all said similar things, and that it felt like at that time there was a pathway, and then suddenly an influx of foreign players come in, and is that ever explained to you? Obviously, I'm sure there's no reason to explain to you because they're just buying in players.
Well, they didn't have to because they've won trophies, they were successful.
Yeah.
So why would he listen to me? But I think there was a few times where the conversation was had between academy staff like Steve Highway of, why was Nabil Alzar maybe playing ahead of me? If I would have got 10, 15 minutes, the crowd would have got behind me, a local lad, and it's that pathway, do you know what I mean? And it's a bridge to start your career or start of a Liverpool career. But that's one regret I do have in football, that I never got that chance because I left and I still had 2 years on my contract.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to keep poking at Liverpool because there's so much bigger and better things to come. But if we can just talk about Rafa again there, I know you said he was cold and stuff like that. What was he like in training? Was he someone who'd be shouting at people, or was he sit in his office, and how was he so cold?
Some days he would be in his office, some days he'd be out barking orders. I believe that he had OCD, where everything had to be right. If you was two yards out of position, he'd be out, pulling you, showing you, doing the shape. That's what he used to do. And going back to that, I do actually remember it went full circle because we played against Newcastle, and he come off the pitch speaking to me, and he knew everything about me, how many kids I had calmed down in life, and he gave me a 5-10 minute conversation, but after one game, that 5-10 minute conversation I had with him was more than 3 years previous. Does that make sense? It was just, it was strange for me because I maybe at that age, at 18, I needed guidance. I probably needed them to tell me what to do, and a little bit of encouragement, a little bit of, you need to do this to get into the team, or you've got to be doing this better, or work harder, or just something to sort of dangle the carrot, and you obviously you've got an incentive. Yeah,
and then just to touch on Liverpool again before we go off it. Steven Gerrard, Jamie Carragher, obviously massive characters as a Scouser yourself in trying to get in the team. Were they good with you? Were they trying to help you through? And was there any other big characters in the dressing room at that time?
The best I had was Robbie Fowler. So he come back, didn't he?
Yeah.
So funny enough, the day I signed my pro contract, he re-signed for Liverpool. And my brothers and my dad were celebrating. I thought it was for me. Like, no, God's back. So that was just shows you how much fans of Liverpool we were, that we used to go to as many games as possible. Yeah, Carragher grew up in a similar area, so I'm Seaforth, he's Bootle. Obviously, we know him and there's a few of his mates and that, so he was always helpful. He was always, encouraging me. Or sometimes if I'd done something wrong, you tell me straight. That's the way you need to be, open and honest, you know what I mean? And there's no point in, sort of feeding you full of lies or bigging yourself up when he knew directly what I needed to do. Stevie, again, he encouraged me a certain bit, but he was just that focused on himself that I think that's what made him the best player in the league at the time. Is he wouldn't say go out of his way to speak to players, but he'd help you out, or he'd sit next to you in lunch, breakfast, but I think he was solely focused on himself, and that was what gave him the drive to become, in my eyes, one of the best midfielders in the whole world.
Yeah, I don't think there's many who'll disagree with you. So it just obviously going on from after Liverpool, as you said, the Dunfermline moved there. You have that cup final. You score against Celtic. That's right. Park, yeah. So as you say there, that's the taste of the big football, like playing in men's football, playing in full stadiums. What were the biggest takeaways from Dunfermline, and was it then when you left with a view that I'm going to go and get that Liverpool place?
Yeah, so first of all, I got an option to either go to Hartlepool on loan in League 2, and then obviously Dunfermline come in, and Callum Woods, who we previously had played with and grew up in the academy with, was there. So initially there was that base, there was someone I knew where it could be comfortable, so that was the reason why I went there. And also I thought this is the best league in their country, so you're going to be obviously testing yourself against Champions League players. There was Gravison, Nakamura, there was high quality there, so you're going to play against really good players, experienced players. So initially my thought process was go there, get as much game time as I could, showcase my ability, make an impact, which I did relatively well. As you said, I scored at Celtic Park. I had numerous man of the match performances, and that was all leading towards maybe getting a chance in pre-season, which never materialised. I I went straight on loan to Southampton without even getting looked at. But that's where you do become disillusioned, and that's where I felt like a number. I didn't feel valued.
Yeah, and then I think nowadays there's like people in charge of the loan players and
loan managers,
and then they've got like the WhatsApp groups for them, and they try and make them feel part of the club. Was that what it was like with you? Were you getting feedback every week, or were you just
not
there?
At all. No, I hardly did get any feedback. My feedback was looking at me writing in the paper. That's how I felt it. You get obviously a phone call every few months and just to check up on you, see how you're doing. But I don't think it is as I wouldn't say professional. I wouldn't say as advanced it is now, because I think they go to every single game, they're marking you every game, your weaknesses, how well you're doing in certain aspects of the game, how you're doing as a person, how you settling in. They don't just look at your football. They take the whole picture into account, and it's your development as a person as well. So I think now they've got everything right to when I first started. Yeah,
and then just saying again there, where you've got the teams that you're going to, Dunfermline, you said you went to Southampton after. I think nowadays as well, especially just looking at it through Liverpool, there seems to be certain teams that players get sent to because they play a certain style of play. Was there ever any of that you think? And your choice of club, was it you or the club who were picking where you were going?
So it was the first two where the first one, Dunfermline, was myself, but then Southampton, it was the club. I think Danny Guthrie had been there the season before, maybe Potter the one before. That's what there was. A route there, and there was a connection. And then obviously Blackpool and Barnsley, I chose myself just because I knew people there. And I did feel as though it would develop my football. The way they played, they were two exciting teams you wanted to attack. You know, so even if they were mid-table, they wouldn't be going away shutting up shop. They would allow you players who could play to go and express themselves. So that was obviously one of the reasons why I went to them clubs. But yeah, it was a massive learning curve. You know, it was strange because I felt like I always had a good season and then an average season, good season, average. And then once I got about 24, 25, that's when I felt like the penny dropped for me and consistency become key. And that's when I started, about 23, I started kicking on again. That's when I felt like it really hit home with myself, and you know, I took notice of what I was doing myself on and off the pitch, the work I was putting in the training ground. That's when, you know, it seemed to come together for me.
Yeah, and then Southampton and Dunfermline are quite far away from Liverpool. Was that hard for you having to go so far away, and what was it like moving away as a youngster?
I think the first loan, obviously at Southampton, Dunfermline, was easy enough because I had Callum there and we lived in an apartment together. So it wasn't as tough as Southampton, which obviously we had a sponsor, Flybe. So I was flying home 2-3 times a week, to be honest. I had an apartment up there by myself, but I was 19, 20, and the only other young players around was Nathan Dyer, Lallana, but they're from that area, so they knew obviously the places to go. I was set by myself in a place called Ocean Village, which was lovely enough, but being a 20-year-old away from home, living by yourself, trying to understand how to cook, how to live clean, overnight, having nothing to do other than play the PlayStation, it can become a daunting task. You know, it can become difficult. You might be training as good as you should be because you're not getting maybe the right amount of sleep. Boredom sets in. So it was really tough. And as I say, Dave, once you get a little bit older, a little bit more mature, you can adapt to these circumstances a lot easier.
Yeah, and then surely that's not your fault that you're feeling like that, because you're a young lad. You're a young lad, you've come from Liverpool. There should be more maybe owners put on the club that someone's looking out for you, or someone from Southampton should be looking out for you. So do you ever feel like if you had a manager, like we'll go and take Mark Robbins later, if you had a figure like that around you, you would have been able to kick on and go back to Liverpool, or was it just always destined that they would just send you out on loan and you were going to have to go somewhere
possibly
else?
Well, I don't know, actually. That's a good question, because I could have done really well where you obviously, I think the only way you would have got a chance if you took the championship by storm, and at 19, 20, there's very few people who can do that. You know, it's players who are showing potential, and then get nurtured back into around the first team. They play. I think what the biggest difference from when I was younger, well, when I was there, in fact, because the years I went out on loan, we started getting a chance in the Carabao Cup, or obviously the League Cup back then, and there'd be players from the academy getting game time, or in a Champions League game that they've already qualified, they'd be getting game time. But I felt that it was more beneficial for myself to be playing 30, 40 games a season rather than a handful a season.
Yeah.
I thought that was putting me in better stead for things to come. Like, funny enough, when I was at Dunfermline and I went back to Liverpool, I did go straight back on loan, but it wasn't before Celtic tried to sign me. So they offered money, it's $1 million or $2 million, and they obviously tried to get me in there on the back of the loan deal I had there, and then Rafa was like, no. But then rather than talk to me, he just sent me straight out. And, you know, I always think to myself, if I would want to sign there, would it have been different?
Yeah.
What would have went on in my career? But, you know, it's in the past, and obviously I did go on to have a great career for myself.
Yeah, definitely. And I don't want to like pick apart like what didn't happen, but you say there, if you go to Celtic and everything can change, but then you maybe
playing Champions League football.
Yeah, exactly. And then, but you wouldn't maybe have had the moves that followed, and obviously Blackpool was the final. Was the loan that came after was Barnsley, and then you made it permanent, wasn't it? But Blackpool was the final step away. But were you staying in Liverpool then, and was that better being at home?
To be honest, I lived in Liverpool all my career until 27. Honestly, I drive everywhere. Which again, I look back and I wasn't probably the most professional, to be honest. You know, I think in my career, I look at it as I was very fortunate to have good ability because it got me to where I got in my career. I didn't really have the dedication of, say, your Jay Spearings, them types of player. You know, I've heard the cliche before. You know, I was last in, first out, and I genuinely was. And, you know, that can hinder you when you've got the technical ability, you can get ahead of yourself sometimes. And it wasn't until I worked under certain managers like Mark Robbins who was like, no, you're staying. You're having an hour after training, I'm working on this. And that's how I got the best out of my football. I probably needed that more often than not. By managers, I always look at the managers that got the best out of me, took time and effort to work with me on the training ground and also off the pitch, you know, to get to know me as a person, because I was labelled a maverick, both on and off the pitch, but, you know, it comes with the territory, I suppose.
Yeah, well, I think just to go on a comment that you made as well, which maybe backs that up, is that you said socially you were 10 years too early and technically you were 10 years too late. So which of those eras do you think you would have been better off in the more athlete-like coming later, or being able to have a drink and still be able to play and do your things in maybe the 90s or earlier?
Well, if it would have went, obviously, in the 90s, it wouldn't have been a problem, because I just, when I started playing, it was that crossover stage of the sports scientists were coming in, and you were getting the back end of the Sunday club. So, you know, you ended up, when I was at Southampton, I was playing with experienced pros like Jermaine Wright. There was obviously Klaus Lunderfarm, all these players who were like 29, 30, 31. So their thing on a Sunday was we meet up and we're going for a few pints and we train Monday. But then when you get older and you've got the younger lads, you can't necessarily do that. So I think I grasped that a little bit too late.
Yeah.
I probably would have been, yeah. Socially, I would have been more equipped for the 90s. But technically, the way I played, it would have suited my style more now.
Yeah.
Because obviously you've got license to go and express yourself. I think they're looking for players to like games up, the players who can unlock the key, unlock the door. Back when I played, I had a few managers who gave me the freedom, but there would be certain games where it would be 4-5-1 and playing the shape, and it would be not a great watch, to be honest. And those teams where, especially when we were down towards the bottom of the league, where we would be happy to go away and get a point, and not really open up an attack. And, you know, I think even now I always looked at it in my career as, if a fan's paying good money, hard-earned money, then the least thing I can do is try and entertain them as best as I can. So that's the attitude I took into each and every game, and it was also that I wouldn't get outworked, and that obviously put me in good stead for my career. That was the way I approached every game. I think people, I don't know why, in my earlier days in my career, they used to think I didn't work hard. And if you watch me for Barnsley, I'd be running 11k a game. But because you flair and you do tricks, it just, people assume that you don't necessarily work hard, but I wouldn't shy responsibility. I love to tackle, even though I'd tackle like a winger. That's his emotion tackle, but I just love playing, and then obviously when you get the ball, then just go and entertain. That was my motto.
Yeah, well, that's, as you said, a true maverick, I think, is probably apart from maybe the work side of it. Well, if you had to pick though, you had to go 10 years forward, 10 years back, which one would you have been better in?
No, definitely no, because I look at the players who are playing now, and yeah, just it's total football. Whereas even, I think, when I was playing in the Prem for Wolves, we weren't the prettiest team on the eye, were we? So that didn't suit my style either. Even now, you look at the likes of Southampton now, they still try and play football, and they're shooting themselves every week in the foot, but they've got a philosophy and a style of play, and the likes of Tyler Diblin is flourishing under that. The club mightn't be, but if he was a similar type of player to what I was, but he's still getting time on the ball to showcase his ability, where if it was, say, I know we always go back to the Allardyce type of football, if it was route one and you miss your wingers out, and that's what that's what I felt like happened to me at Wolves. I didn't get to get on the ball and express myself, but we'll cross that later.
Yeah, that's it. Well, we'll have our first break then, and we'll go into Barnsley and everything in a second, first group, but we'll see you in a sec. Welcome back to the second section. Thank you for running away in the break. Right, so we're going to talk about the rest of your career after Liverpool, which is obviously a lot more lengthy, a lot more impressive. Your first loan to Barnsley, she said that's 4 loan moves then away from Liverpool.
Yeah.
Was it obvious when you went there that you weren't going to be coming back in your eyes, or was that just another move and we'll see what happens?
I don't know. I think you always harbour the expectation or the hope that you might get a sniff or you might get a chance. The last game I ever played for Liverpool was the game with Gerrard, and he scored the pen. And I scored the pen, and I set him up. And I only got a cameo with 15, 20 minutes. And then 2 days later, I'm signing for Barnsley. So
what year is that, sorry?
I can't remember the exact year. I just remember. Do you remember? Obviously, it was we. I think it was 3-3 the game. But I just remember coming on in that game. Stevie was the only first teamer playing. Obviously, I think it was the court case at that time.
Right.
So do you remember when he couldn't travel with the first team and he played in that game? And I just remember coming on, setting him up, winning a penalty against Welshie, and then slotting it. But then that was my last kick of football for Liverpool. But it was one of them. They accepted the bid, and then because I'd done well in that game, it was like, well, do you want to go on loan? And I said no. I want to go and pursue a career now because I feel like I need to kick on. Yeah,
and then from the first day you walk in the door at Barnsley, did it feel like home?
No, not initially. I had obviously been on loan and I was comfortable at the place. I was still inconsistent. I was doing some brilliant things in games and then some not so brilliant things, and it wasn't until a few months in where I think I sort of got used to the players. They got used to me. I remember one game I used to double step over, get to the byline, chop back, try and take him on 3 times. I remember coming in at half time, Big Darren Moore got me up by the wall. Cross the pig and ball. He's like, cross the ball. Don't take the mick. You know what I mean? One of them. And that's when I was like, oh, this is serious now. I best just do what he says. And he did encourage me, right? Go and do what you do, but just make sure you have an end product, whether that be a shot, a cross, or a pass. Don't beat a man and try and beat him again. So it wasn't until a few months that, obviously, training, playing regularly with the players there, that we started to flourish and understand each other's games. And then It helped that the manager said to me, "Don't cross the halfway line, just stay there, don't defend, and we'll get you the ball."
Well, I want to talk about the manager, but before that, just your style of play again. So a lad who, like, you know, the way you look, the step overs, you're going to attract attention, and that if you're up against a wily old fullback, they're just going to want to kick you. How often was that happening, and how did you stop that happening?
Didn't stop it. It just got told by managers, even like Sir John Owens, Dave Shannon, to take it as a compliment. Like, there's no point in getting up and trying to have a fight with them, is it? Or react, because that's all they want you to do. They want you to react and get sent off. And I used to think to myself, do you know what? I'll take it as a compliment, but next time I get them, leaving one on you. And I did. I'd leave me studs up, or, you know, if there's that ball where I could have played it at the lay so I could try and nail them in a tackle. And I think that gained respect from many of the players I played against, because they probably thought, he can handle himself and he's having to go back. Whereas you see more often than not the players who technically are more gifted or skillful, if they get nailed early on, they drift out the game and they don't want to know. And that was not the case for myself. I loved it. I used to love a battle in the game. Loved it.
Yeah, I think, as you said before, we had John Welsh, and he described it as a scouse tackle where you deliberately leave a lot in. So was that, do you think having that blend of the scouse tackle and then the flair is what obviously took you on so far? And who maybe was the worst defender you came up against? Not in terms of hard to beat or whatever, but in terms of they tried their best to try and get you
Neville. I got him sent off, and obviously that season, my first season there, I got him sent off, and I think it would have been the Carling Cup then. And it was just, I was having a really good game. I was up against him, taking him on, and he just didn't like it. I think he was coming to the back end of his career, and I just kept getting the ball, and it always kept coming over to the left, and I'd go inside, outside, and he didn't have the legs, and then I cut inside, and then he just started calling me a scouse. See, you know what I mean? All through the game, and I was like giving him it back. I was like, "You little mank, you look like a rat," you know what I mean? And then he's giving it to me, and then he's elbowing me off the ball, and we're going at it, and then the ball's bouncing, and it was one of them. All he had to do was kick the ball up, but he's purposely kicked the ball up and just gone bang right into my knee, studs first, and obviously seeing the red card. But that game, I just remember him being pinching, elbowing, just constantly down my ear, just trying to throw me off my game, and he didn't realise that just spurred me on even more. I used to love that. Like, I think I'm gonna get one over on you. Like, and I used to love it when the fans used to get on me, the away fans. I used to play on it like banter, wind them up, blow them kisses and that. And see other players, I've seen players who would go into the shell and you'd lose them in 10 minutes. It just had the adverse effect on me.
Yeah, and would you be someone maybe who would say it? Because I think I've heard players say that they'd almost need that to get going in the game sometimes, or like realise it's passing them by and then deliberately have a tackle so it riled them up and got them going. Or would you be able to do it against a quiet fullback and a loud?
Football for me, I've enjoyed it, whether being a kid or even now I still try and play. But I don't need getting up for any game. I used to just put the ball in front of me and go play. That's it, isn't it? I think you're in the wrong industry first and foremost if you can't get up for any game. Whether that be a Sunday league, I've played Sunday league in Liverpool since I've retired. And let me tell you, I get up for them games. I get kicked everywhere just as much as I did in the champ. And you know, it's for the love of the game why you still do it. There's nothing keeping me there doing it, but other than wanting to play football. And I think I was like that when I played at whatever level it was until the back end of my career. But yeah, I just love playing. That was me.
And then we'll talk about Mark Robins now then. So I know you have several spells under him and not just at Barnsley as well, but how important was he, and could you like describe him to someone who's not aware of what he's like as a manager?
He was like a father figure, like literally. He was dry. He comes across unassuming, doesn't he, on interviews and that, and he is like that. But he's got a dry sense of humour. He's got a little bit of banter about him, not much like, but he's firm, and do you know what? He put rules and regulations down, and he'd expect you to abide by them, and which I did 9 times out of 10. But the times that I did overstep the mark or I got into trouble, he was never too hard. Whereas other managers were, he was understanding. He would just be like, right, we're getting fined, and we go again. you owe me. And it got the best out of me because I thought, you know what, he's gone out of his way a few times to back me to the hill. And the work that he used to do on the training ground with me, he obviously was a big influence in getting me a lot more goals and assists and mixing my game up. So I used to start passing it then and I work with him. But even on a Saturday night, so he understood sometimes I'd go back to Liverpool, or say I always lived in Liverpool. He made me actually get an apartment in Huddersfield and Barnsley because he thought if I can keep me here on a Saturday and he didn't go out with his mates, he used to ring me on a Saturday night, "Are you watching Match of the Day?" And, you know, keeping toes on me, like, to see what I'd be up to. And I just thought, like, obviously not at the time, I thought it was a ball league at the time because I wanted to get back to see me mates or one of them. But looking back, the older I got, I've realised how much of a massive impact that had on my career.
Yeah.
You know, just going out of his way to do that.
Yeah, and I think obviously you said before about Rafa and then the other managers you had on loan. It seems like he was the first person that cared as well, and just that must have, as you already said, it made a big difference to you. But as you said as well, you're maybe taking risks on the pitch and also turning up late. You've said sometimes, and you're going home, you're not doing things. He must have put his neck on the line a lot of times and got a lot of stick, but you obviously paid him back on the pitch. So was there ever any aggro of the other players for how you?
Yeah, do you know what? I think obviously most of the players that you'll speak to that I've worked with, they understand me. Like, there's not a malicious bone in my body. So, like, I wouldn't take liberties. I wouldn't be late because I wanted to be late, or it was just in me makeup, me nature. Like, I'd just be lethargic, or I wouldn't even realise the time it'd get away from me. I think they understood, like, to me core, what type of person was. I would literally help anyone. I'd go to my way to help someone. I'd give them the shirt off my own back, do you know what I mean? Before I obviously had it myself. I've always been like that. Just who I am. It's obviously part of my upbringing. Most Scousers are like that, do you know what I mean? You've got that mentality. But I think, he just understood me as a person, and he did give me leadway as well, whereas other players wouldn't get it. Because he understood on a Tuesday or a Saturday that I could make that difference. I'll get them the win. And I think, obviously, believe it or not, I think fans don't want to hear this, but other players sort of just get on with it and think, because I'm getting a win bonus, essentially. So they put up with it, unless you're taking the mickey, which I never really did. I'd have a laugh in training, but other than that, they understood and they accepted it.
Yeah, but
then, they also, I had to pay my fines at the first day of pre-season, so I never had to pay one again. Now made up because the Christmas night was paid for every year. So
the 1st of August,
so that was it. Yeah.
Well, we had Bradley Orr on. He was talking about how Adel Taarabt was like such a big character in QPR, and obviously, if you've got the performances to back it up, I think even fans and players are going to be playing as soon as it starts not happening when it goes wrong. But as you say, you also loved at Barnsley, that's you obviously kept producing the goods. So was there ever a period where, as I say, where it felt like that you weren't?
No, because I think you could see arrogance in him. Obviously, I had self-belief, but you could see his arrogance spilling over, and the things that obviously. So he used to just go to Morocco, didn't he? Not tell no one. And I wouldn't do stuff like that. I'd just like a genuine mistake, or I've overslept on a Monday because I've been out on a Sunday, one of them. Yeah. But I'd phone in and say, look, hands up, I'll come in now. I wouldn't just not turn in for the sake of not turning in. There's always be a reason behind it. So I wouldn't just say, I'm not going in today.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll try it, and even however I was feeling, I'd still try and get in. And I think also on the pitch, I left Everton. I give 110% in each and every game. So the players understood I was with them. I think the fans seen that. They seen someone who would try stuff, but then be the first player to run backwards and to win a tackle or to put the body on the line. So they understood that, and I think that's what obviously won me over and got their affection, is that they seen I was trying my best in both sides of the game.
And then, well, we say there that you had such a good relationship with Barnsley, with Mark Robbins, so you go to Wolves. So obviously, I know it's Premier League football. It must have been, it obviously was too tempting that you couldn't turn it down. But how hard was it for you at that stage, or did you feel like you needed Barnsley to step back up to the Prem?
Yeah, I did, but you say, it's not until you get older and you look back and you realise, like, at the time, you just solely focused, and it was more out of, like, I've got a chance to prove the doubters wrong. It took me 18 months, or was it like 14 months just to get back in the Prem, so it wasn't a long time. So I was like, I told you I could play, and that was my mentality. I was like, I told you, and I wanted to ram it down his throat. But looking back, it probably wasn't the right move. I could have stayed till the end of the season. I was on like 12 goals by Christmas as a winger. Could have ended up with over 20, and then you've got like big clubs looking at you. But at the time, I remember speaking to agents and certain people, I won't mention names, but my wages were getting quadrupled. When someone said you could break your leg tomorrow and never play, it's a chance to secure yourself and your family. Do you know what I mean? So selfishly, I just took that option. And obviously, when I look back, when I got older, I wish I didn't. I thought if I would have stayed till the end of the season, and I do felt like I got not say forced into it, because I understood how much of a massive club Wolves was, and there was great lads there, but I didn't understand the style of play, and it didn't suit me at all. And I played all season left mid, and then got thrown right mid for the remainder of the season. Which for me, if you scouted me in one position, what's the point in putting me in another?
Yeah.
And then he put me straight in right mid and played there till the end of the season, and I just felt it was a little bit strange, and it was more based on just getting the ball to my feet and whipping balls in. He didn't want me dribbling. Just 2 target men, get the ball into the box, win second balls. And after 6 months, I think 2 players who've been injured, Kitely and Hunt, they'd done the cruciates. And he said to me, I know you've been selected for the 21s, you've done really well. Since you've come in the first 6 months, I was flying. He said, but you're not going to be starting. And the person I just took that as, I took it obviously in the wrong way, because I thought, hang on a minute, like I've done really well, I deserve my chance, I don't really care if they're coming back. I didn't really take it as a challenge. I thought, well, if you want to be like that, then sound. Yeah. Just go and do my own thing then.
Yeah. And you're saying there as well, you get put on the right foot, you watch your highlights from youth level, whatever, your best skill is probably cutting inside, having a shot, or terrorising defenders either side. So for them to put you on the right, were your assist numbers high when you were at Barnsley? Was that, maybe they looked at that for you, or did you just feel
both? Yeah,
not right for being
he just
there?
said to me, your crossing ability is like top notch, and it was. I had a really good cross. If you look later on when I played for Barnsley in the Champ, I had the most chances created, most crosses, successful crosses from the right. And the older I got, I became more suited to the right, believe it or not. And I think it played in hand, because obviously teams started to double up on me on the left. So obviously you'd have a centre mid coming across trying to force me outside on my left. Whereas then on the right, I ended up just adapting my game, like playing 1-2s, getting it deeper, getting that ball drifting. And yeah, I think the crossing and the passing ability then started to showcase. I was more seen as a player who just dribbled and that, but I could spray a ball and I could cross a ball. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and then if we go on to Mick McCarthy again there, and you spoke about the role of other managers, he's known as like, he's a big character in football. Most people seem to like him who played for him. So, well, how was he? Yeah.
He was sound. Like, he was honest. Like, he was just, he'd tell you how it was. If you weren't playing, like I say, started the season after me having a good season, he told me straight away, you're not going to be starting first game of the season, which was bold, but it was like, he was true to his word, and I just didn't take it in the right manner. I should have knuckled down and put my head down and thought, get back into the team, show him what I'm made of. But I think it had the adverse effect. I was young and a little bit naive to it. I thought, oh, well, if you're going to be at the wind up with me, then I'll just give it straight back to you, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and again, you made that move to Wolves, and you were at, your aim when you got there was to show that you're a Premier League player. Did you feel like a Premier League player?
Yeah, definitely
there?
I did.
Not feel like your depth or whatever, no?
Well, it was, I call it ironic, sorry. I made my debut against Liverpool in the Premier League. Yeah, it was strange. And I felt like, you know what, right? I've said it a few times. I think my aim was always to get back in the Premier League. Once I got there, I just didn't set myself the next target straight away, and I just become comfortable playing week in, week out, and you just get into such a way of training and playing that it just becomes the norm to go to these big grounds and play in front of and then, I wasn't really, I don't think I appreciated it as much as I should have. It just felt like another game of football, whereas I should have really set myself targets of how many assists and goals I'm going to get, and try and obviously kick on and favour my career, because I felt like I could have even when I had them. But, as I say, at the time, I wasn't mature enough at the time. I wasn't professional enough. So I think it sort of it fizzled out there.
Yeah, and then a lot of people, obviously, you have the talent in the Premier League forever. Maybe if you drop out, it takes a while to get back. Do you think maybe you got it back too quickly, and maybe that's why you didn't appreciate it as much? If you'd spent 3-4 years in the Championship and then got it, it might have been better.
Probably. Yeah, probably. That's a fair assessment. Is if I would have played maybe 150 games more than the champ and build myself up as a character, you learn a lot more about yourself, and it's really tough playing in a Championship. Physically, it's a lot more demanding because the game's just end to end. In the Premier League, obviously, it's a lot more technical, which, again, I said, I found it easier playing when you went to the Prem than it was in the Championship. And I think I'd just become too comfortable, and I just didn't push myself as much as I should have. But again, that's just naivety. Yeah, it probably would have done me the world of good by maybe staying there for the end of the season maybe, and then assessing my options there, maybe having another season, and just having more game time and experience. Because the thing is, in the Championship, I played week in, week out, whether it was a 6 out of 10 or a 9 out of 10. In the Premier League, you just have one bad game, for 4 or 5 weeks. So you're not getting that regular game time. So you're not going to, obviously, you're not going to understand more about yourself, as a player, and when to dig in. So it would have been more beneficial, I think so.
Yeah, and then obviously that first game, we're going to talk about being against Liverpool. What was that whole day like? That must have, you see the fixtures. How soon after signing did you know that was going to be your first game? And was it it must have felt good, I'm guessing?
And I could obviously see if I signed for Wolves on a certain date, then that would be my first game. And it was a whirlwind of a few days. I just signed. Obviously, a few days later, come on against Liverpool. I felt like I should have come on earlier, but I didn't. But see, that's the way Mick was sometimes. He'd leave subs, I'd come on in the 75th minute. And we're getting beat 2-0, and I was like, should you just give me half an hour or a half at least?
Yeah.
But he could be stubborn, and he was. That's the way. I think he was just very old-fashioned in that sense, and it's obviously a little bit of a different thinker to him. But it was strange making my debut, because I trained with them all. Skate lagged a lot, I knew them. And I'm coming on to make my debut against them. Setting chances up. I thought I'd done really well when I come on. And I remember thinking to myself, if only Kenny was there when I was there, I would have got a chance. That was my first initial thought.
Yep.
When I come on. That's what I was thinking, rather than... That was the boy inside of me who wanted to dream to play for Liverpool. That's what I was still thinking whilst I was making my debut for Wolves, which I shouldn't have been.
Yeah, but that's but what you're thinking in your head. Obviously, not going to say it out in the cameras and all that after. But who were you up against that day? And was you trying to get a shirt after for a memento, or was it
I didn't.
just move on?
That's for no one shirt. I can't even remember who it was up against.
Yeah,
because it's a blur. There's some games that are a blur. That was one of them. It was a whirlwind. I remember doing well, but I couldn't tell you who it was up against. I'm sure I come on against on the right. It might have been Aurelio. Might have been Fabio, yeah. Going back, that season, I'd done really well. But I always remember one significant moment in my career, and this will just go back to how Mick was. We played Tottenham, and the ball was on their right-hand side, so I was tucked in. So they've thrown it in to the halfway line where Modric span, and he hasn't seen me, and I've run full force, and I'm thinking, I'm just going to shoulder barge him off the ball and win it. He had that low centre of gravity. I hit him and hit the deck. He was that strong. And I remember coming off at half time, Mick McCarthy saying, if you ever do that again, you'll be sitting next to me. Because the size of him, 5'6", and obviously I was a lot bigger, 5'10". But I always remember speaking to my friends and family after that game, saying, unless you played against them, if you stood off him, you'd dictate play. If you got near him, you'd 1-2 round the corner. And I was trying to explain to them how good he was. And they're like, what? And then it only go to show that he went on to be a Ballon d'Or winner. Real Madrid, he's still playing now, isn't he, at Real Madrid? It's crazy. And like, just, I had that first hand to see. And like, them types of players, Bale played in that game. You know, you're so fortunate to, like, I look back now, but see, back then at the time, didn't interest me. And that's where I should have been a little bit more focused, I think.
Yeah, but I think also that's what you want from a player, sure. You don't want you being walking around a pitch going, he's great. You should be thinking, I'm as good as these. So
no, yeah, obviously.
It's right, I mean, but you maybe didn't appreciate the level you were playing at. Yeah,
that's exactly it. I didn't appreciate the level. And, you know, as you say, once you do, you get older and then your boots are hung. But then you look back at these moments and you think, what if? But, you know, I wouldn't say I've got any regrets, really.
Well, at least you lost a 50-50 to a Ballon d'Or winner, yeah. It could have been worse, couldn't it? Yeah. Well, so we'll just finish off on Wolves, maybe. Did you move there or were you still driving from Liverpool?
I was driving. Used to drive everywhere, yeah. Even when I went on loan to Middlesbrough, I was driving in every day. And I was just, I think I was a home bird. I was very much comfortable around my friends, my family. Obviously, later on I had the kids, but it wasn't until the last time I went back to Barnsley that I actually moved on. And that year I moved on, lo and behold, I had another amazing season. Yeah. So I think it was trying to show me something. Yeah,
well, you say how honest Mick McCarthy was he not someone who was saying to you, maybe it's better for you to move here, or there was no one ever bothered, or like players or anyone?
I just think he expected it. I don't think he needed to have the conversation. He probably thought I was. Until obviously I wasn't, and I told him. I remember, it would have been a year after that I was stuck on the M6. It was do you remember the Fee Festival? They used to have it towards that area anyway, and the M6 was gridlocked, and I've rung, I can't make training because I'm on the M6. So, what are you doing on the M6? And I was like, driving in from Liverpool. Why are you not down here? I was like, back home, because they got me an apartment. So I did have an apartment there, just never stayed there. So he's probably thinking, and then again, that's where he's probably thought, you know what, you can get away with that at certain levels, but you're in the Premier League, and he's probably thinking, no, this is bull, I'm not having it. So he's probably thought, well, no, your punishment is you're going to be out the squad for a few weeks, which he did do. And that's what I was saying to you, he is as honest as the day is long. Like, if he says he's going to do something, he'll do it. And he was one of them managers, he would treat no one differently. It was all the same. Whereas the best period of my career, I did get a little bit of leeway from other managers who understood my personalities. But I think when you're in the Premier League, you've got to accommodate to the rules and regulations unless you're Messi or Maradona. Yeah. I think that's where you get away with it.
Yeah. And then just finally, moving away, as much as managers maybe aren't saying to you, they've got your apartment and you're not there, a family not saying to your friends, why aren't you living there, and you just didn't want to, or was it just, it was what it was, you never really thought into it?
Never really thought about it.
Yeah.
I don't think you do, really. Drive into training, 9 times out of 10, I'd be in on time, I'd train, enjoy it, and then just drive out. Because for me, I think to myself, right, especially if it's an hour and a half drive, say you finish at 12, you have your lunch, you're home by 2:30. People don't finish work till 5 anyway. So then, what would I be doing from 2:30 till 9 o'clock in the morning? Nothing. Being in an apartment by myself, or, you know, you be, the people obviously live there, but, you know, I was in a place where necessarily wasn't comfortable. I was comfortable, but I just thought I'd rather go home, see my mates, my family, and, you know, whether I play golf or go and play pool, I'd rather do it in the comfort of my own place and home, and obviously places that I know, than somewhere else. So I think it was just that thought process that listen, I'll just do an hour and a half in the car and then I'm home.
Yeah, it's fair enough. I think you've said as well, like when you were at home, sometimes time was passing you by, or you had nothing to do. So do you reckon maybe half of it was a conscious decision to lose some of that time that you weren't filming it, and maybe that was better for you? Or
I was probably late more when I lived in Barnsley than I was when I drove in from Liverpool. Because honestly, I used to think to myself, right, if we're in for, you get in for 9:30 and you train at 10:30. So I'd set off at 7, give myself 2.5 hours over the Woodhead. We'd have meeting points where we'd meet certain players, and that routine was fine. But when I was left to my own devices, this is what I mean. I'd be sitting there, drop the kids off at nursery, come home, watching Sky Sports News, drinking my coffee, and say we're in for 9:30. It'd be 9:25. I go, oh, I've got to get into training. Do you know what I mean? And that wasn't me purposely wanting to be late. It was just in me make. That's just the way it was. I would sometimes miss, say, the start of training, but like I'd be playing darts in the kit man's room, trying to get treble 20, and then the kit man's going, started a minute ago, and then run straight out. Do you know what I mean? Get a fine, and as I say, the managers would be more understanding towards me because they'd just be like, oh, put it in the fine money, get the managers and the staff a beer on the weekend, and it's fine.
Yeah, but I'd say it's the person you were, so maybe it helped you not being in the places. But we'll move on. Huddersfield was next. What was the major reason for going there, I'm guessing?
Again, Mark Robbins, yeah. And I think there was a big contingency of Scousers there. So there was me, Anthony Gerrard, you had Callum Woods again, Peter Clark, well, it's from Southport, but we let him off with that one. You have Forney, who plastic Scouser. Keith Southern. I used to drive. He used to live in the road next to me. So there was a core of 6 to 7 players who I knew. Obviously, great lads. The banter in the dressing room was top notch. Like it was unbelievable. It was the best dressing room I've been in, to be honest. Like for the banter side of it. And it was only an hour. So that was another reason. It was an hour away. It wasn't a 3-hour drive.
And then Mark Robbins, as you said, how important he was to you, and you've said there's so many big characters. Was he good at managing the dressing room with big characters? And obviously big characters tend to enjoy being around others as well.
Yeah, but he'd let them police themselves. That's where he was good. I think he understood that. He'd been in dressing rooms under Alex Ferguson. So he understood the psychology side of things, of what players could do and what they could get away with. But yeah, I think what was one of his greatest assets is that he understood that a successful dressing room or a good dressing room was policed within. So he didn't have to do it unless he had to do it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So he had let the lads sort it. And if anything did get out of hand, there was like a famous one where there's 2 players who had a fight, Clayton and Patterson, and it got broken the news. And rather than them not play, he only goes and plays them against Sheff Wednesday at Derby. 5 minutes in, Clayton sets Patterson up, and the celebration is the fake punch. Any other manager is not playing him on the weekend, and it's a 2-week fine. But I think he just understood in the heat of the moment and what it was. Things happen like that in football. But as I say, just his psychology side of things, he let it go, and he got his reward within 5 minutes of the game in 2 days. I mean, ended up winning 3-0 away, yeah.
Well, and as you said, it had such an impact on you that you wanted to play better for him. Yeah. So if you've had, it's not yourself in that instance, but if you've had a fight in the week and the manager kicks by you, you're going to go, well, I've really got to prove that he's right to do this here. So, there is sense in it, isn't there?
I want to run through a brick wall for him, honestly. Even when, this is what I mean, I'm still text him now, even the playoff final and the semi-final, the FA Cup last year, I text him good luck and that, and you get a response back. So it's still that, like, obviously, relationship still there, do you know what I mean? He's always asked me what I've been doing after football, same with Eckenbottom. These are the 2 managers that got the best out of me. They still take an interest in me. So it wasn't just, oh, I'm going to do it selfishly to get the best out of the team, which is understandable, but even after football, they're still trying to keep in touch, which is obviously nice for myself, and it proves that I wasn't a reprobate.
Yeah, well, of course, if you do the talking on the pitch, it's always going to help players, managers, teammates, whatever, get on board with it. You spoke about your professionalism at times. You said about your fines.
Yeah.
Obviously, something oversteps the mark in one instance. Next in your career to do with it with a paramedic. Can we talk about that? So how did that happen? Explain it to someone.
It was just obviously myself. It was something that you're obviously not proud of. Biggest regret of my life. Just ended up after a game coming back. Don't think I played, so we ended up going out getting absolutely hammered. I just remember being on the top of this flight of steps. I thought I got pushed off or punched and fell to the bottom, slight stole my lip open, and I woke up and I'm strapped into obviously a wheelchair, and that's when you go into fight or flight. And literally I was trying to get out and I'm throwing people, and that's basically what happened. I shouldn't reacted in the way I did. Don't condone it. Obviously looking back, obviously took the sentence I got, the community hours, and I done my time and I learnt my lesson. You know, I'm a big advocate, and you learn from your mistakes and it builds you as a person. Obviously not condoning it, but it's helped me later on in life to have more of an understanding, and you know, I've not been in trouble since then. Again, going back to Mark Robbins, he signed me off the back of that, whereas anyone else would have washed their hands. But he understood that it was just a human error. It was out of character. It's not like me. So I think he just understood that, and he obviously had the belief to then take me back to Huddersfield, where obviously he got the best out of me again. But yeah, it's just one of them nights that got out of hand, basically, and I've regretted it ever since.
And then obviously to take positives out of it is what you've always got to try and do, and then obviously you got given the chance then to prove yourself as a footballer again. I said we had Bradley Orrin, who at Bristol went to prison, and then his manager stood by him, and it made him more inspired to go and prove everyone wrong and say, that's not who I am. I'm a better person. So was that again another reason that spurred you on?
Because as I said to you before, I think if you speak to most of my teammates, they'll all say the same about me. Like, that is not me. You know, I used to sometimes behave a little bit indifferently, but you know, on the basis of it, I was a nice person. I got my way for anyone. It's just that night, obviously the ale got the better of you, so it was one of them. It was like, and it did. It matured me, because I didn't want to be remembered for my mistakes. I wanted to be a person who wasn't looked at in that light. And then I matured. Obviously, had the kids, and I think it does. It puts you. I wouldn't say it shapes your life, but it just makes you so much more aware, especially of what's going on. So, like, if I see something happening now, I just won't even go near it. You know, you can feel it, can't you? If you're out and about and you get a sense of an atmosphere, rather than stay, I'd be like, nah, I'm off. Don't want to be here. And you can feel that, and you get that sort of instinct.
Yeah.
And obviously, it's come from that lesson.
Yeah, and then as you said, then it's about making it into a positive, and you know, to have Mark Robbins to stick by, and obviously that you've already said about how much you like him, but obviously that just shows another level of him as a person, not just as a manager. To do that,
it was massive. It was because, to be honest, if he wouldn't have signed me, where would I have went? I don't know. And then you create and hits skydive. Do you know what I mean? So it gave me that confidence, obviously. I think after it, I was actually on loan when it happened, and I went back to Wolves. My contract was not up, no, I got paid up, but I remember the back end of the loan because of all the court case and all that, and I just wasn't playing football, I wasn't producing anything, and then the summer comes and I ended up leaving Wolves, and then Mark Robbins was like, yeah, I want him. Straight in, straight away, the first day I went in, it clicked back again. That enjoyment, the excitement, and having someone who trusted me, obviously give me the freedom to express myself, then my confidence built again. So yeah, just having him around, just to be able to let me go and express myself was a massive, I'd say it was a pivotal point in my career, to be honest.
Yeah. And having said all that, though, he played you at right back, right wing back.
Yeah.
So it was, as much as you could let you express yourself, that must have been a hard sell. As you said, you didn't really enjoy playing.
No, he didn't tell me when he signed me, because I probably wouldn't have. He just said to me in pre-season, the owners, they want to go a different way, different style of play, different formation, and you're playing right wing back. And my response was, good one. I'm not. And he was like, yeah, you are. And obviously, again, it was a strange one. It was a lopsided one. So it was a left back and a right winger, basically, like but just sort of go and try and play in a 3-5-2. But it was weird because I improved defensively, but as a wing back, you get a lot more time on the ball because you're in between. You're not directly against the full back, you're starting deeper, and you're 9 times out of 10 the winger's lazy, so he wouldn't track you, or you'd have like 5-10 yards of space where I could build up a head of steam and run at a defender or cross it. And in that season, I think James Vaughan had 20 by Christmas. I had like 15 assists from right wing back. And again, it was like I could also cut inside on my left and deliver it. So again, it was just him thinking out of the box. He seen something else in my game that he thought I can get the best out of him.
Yeah, and it's not something you did again, I don't think, afterwards, but it was maybe, as you say, it just adds more tools to your game, and you say there about more space, I think, similar to what Trent does, maybe now, obviously, he's a bit further forward as a fullback, so maybe that more space and time on the ball. I know later on in your career, very much later on, like nowadays, you're more playing in the centre, so is that, as you say, just adding skills and adding tools to your game that you can use in other situations?
It was, yeah, but at that time, I already had experience of playing number 10 for Huddersfield. To be honest, he played me everywhere. Like, number 10, left wing, right wing, so anywhere in the attacking formation. But yeah, playing right wing back, it gave me more understanding of the game. Strangely, because I had to be able to, when we were defending, get myself back into a shape in line with the back three or in a certain position where I'm stopping the ball going to the winger. So then you're making more of a conscious effort to be in the right position. You're reading the game a lot more than you would do as a winger. And then in possession of the ball, I think because you have more time, you can get your head up and you can see patterns of play unfolding in front of you. Whereas if I was out on the left, I'm on the touchline, might be 1v1 against the defender. My thought processes get to the byline or cut inside. Whereas here, I'm 20 yards deeper, so I can see a bigger picture.
Yeah.
So then my understanding of the game improved, massively. And
then again, having said all this, though, he ends up leaving, and you have a different manager who takes his place there. Yeah. So, under Powell, what was it like at Huddersfield?
Straight away, you come in, your face doesn't fit. Obviously, I think he's read into the incidents that have happened. Which any manager's entitled to, as long as they're honest. But my biggest pet hate is when they're saying, "Oh, it's the board, or it's this and it's that. You're on too much money." Just be honest and tell me. And if I'm not going to feature, I'll shake your hand and go. Do you know what I mean? Even if I have to take a loss, I'll take a loss just to go and play football. But you just come in. I'm excited to work with you. There's no one here in the team, and it's the same with James Vaughan. And it was because we both had hit like a certain, I don't know if he was the same as me, but we had hit a certain number in appearances. If we hit one more start, renegotiate the contract straight away. Not happening. Probably the owner or whoever's involved in the board was saying, they're not getting it. We can't afford to give them more wages, or, we're wanting to go a different direction, so you can't play them. But then we're playing every cup game, just not league games, and coming on in every game. And sometimes at half time, sometimes in the first half, it was like anything other than to start us. But then what happens is that the fans think that you're sort of a liability, or you're acting a goat around the place when you're not. So there was all kinds of rumours that we've been involved in training antics. We were ruining sessions, kicking balls away. We weren't, believe it or not. Towards the end of it, we were made to train by ourselves in the gym. Me and him just had to go on the treadmill and ended up getting to 12 o'clock and driving home. And that's what people don't understand, the other side of football. When things are going well, it's the best job in the world. But when things are not in your control like that, and all you want to do is play, it's the worst place, and it can be the loneliest place, and mentally it's so tough to deal with. Yeah,
and being exiled basically from the first team. So obviously because of that, you've had the honesty before of Mick McCarthy, of Mark Robbins, who maybe if they were in his position would have said that I can't because we can't afford to play. Yeah, but you end up going out on loan, is it, to Rotherham then? Under Steve Evans is another big character. What was he like as a manager?
Big in what way?
You pissed.
Yeah, he was. again, I fell out with him really quick after one game. Made my debut. My missus was in labour, ended up giving her an epidural. Just made the birth by 5 minutes, but played the game against Swansea, got man of the match, drove back. But my dad drove us back like a lunatic over the Woodhead, just made it. And then there was a complication, so she was in for a few nights. But on the Sunday, we had to be in for a cool down because we had to choose the game. And it was literally 15 minutes on a bike, and it's a 2-hour drive. So I've rung him up Sunday morning. Look, I've been in the hospital all night. Can I have the day out? No. Yeah, so I drove all the way down. Done a 15-minute bike, and the manager wore it. The fitness coach at the time was Paul Warne, who went on to manage them. He went on to manage Derby. Great guy, but he said to me, if you would have my number, just ring me, and I didn't. He said, I just said you'd been in. And then the same happened on the Monday, no sleep. I gave them the option this time. I was like, look, my family comes first in this predicament. I'm staying with the baby. And that was it. Just from that moment on, we just didn't see eye to eye. I come on in games, set goals up, wouldn't start. And it was just, it was like that with most players though. I think you'd either love them or hate them, and 90% hated them. But he obviously got a tune out of a few players because they always seemed to sign for him. But for me, it just wasn't my cup of tea. My type of personality. He was just degrading the way he spoke to people. He'd be in your face screaming at you. And there's a way of treating people. I've always thought that you treat people the way you want to be treated. And that's the way I go about my life. Yeah. And it wasn't like that. We had an incident in training where I didn't threaten him, but I volleyed the ball at him and tried to chase him. Because he accused me of calling him something, which he called me first. And then he was like, apologise to me. I was like, no, not until you apologise to me. But again, I think he had bipolar. I really do. Because the next day he'd come in as though nothing had happened. Like, and then, no, it didn't. Because I didn't say it. And I'd be like, you called me at first. He'd be like, no, I didn't. And his assistant, and obviously the first team coach is just saying, just admit it, just say you did it. And I was like, why? And they were saying, just say you did it because you'll play. I said, I'm not admitting I've said something to him when I haven't. Just to play. No, that's not in my makeup. I'll bite the bullet, and I'll take the bullet, and I'll just sit in my backside and obviously wait for my chance. But it was frustrating that spell, and that's at the back end of that. I obviously fell out of love with football because it was two managers on a bounce. Such negativity, and like wasn't playing. Just wasn't enjoying training, wasn't enjoying even going in, being on a day-to-day with the players. The travelling become a massive issue because normally when you're going in, you're enjoying it. Them 2 hours to have their flyby. Or if you're in a car school with a few people, they fly by. But then obviously I was going in by myself because I was on loan at a different club. There's no one in the Northwest, and just straight away I didn't enjoy it.
Yeah, I can understand why you have to say that, yeah. So you've, as you said, bad experience follows by a bad experience, but what come next is the best experience, would you say? Yeah. So how did you know that the interest was there to go back to Barnsley, and how quick did you say yes?
I didn't know. If I'm honest, I did not have a clue. I just obviously left, took the pay up of Huddersfield because my head had gone, and I had a young daughter at home, and I thought, you know what, like, I can't be going back every day, misery guts, and not wanting to see anyone, just pissed off basically with the world. It's not fair on them. So I was like, John, just take a few months to myself, and literally after a few months I was like, this could be it. Like, I'm actually finding enjoyment in my life, a little bit of purpose back, calm, a little bit of finding myself again. And I was playing footy with my mates, 5-a-sides and that, and I was enjoying playing again, just getting back to the art of street football, you know, that enjoyment side. And my old agent just rang me and was like, Lee Johnson wants you to go in and train with him. And I was like, nah. He was like, yeah, just go in and see if you enjoy it. I said, look, I'll go in a few days, thinking nothing of it, went in for 2 days, signed, made my debut on the 3rd. Didn't know where my fitness was at, so I think I went in on the Monday, trained twice, signed a short deal and then played in the JPT on the Wednesday. Played the full 90, scored and got an assist, but I wasn't fit. I had cramp after 60 minutes, I remember, and just drive myself through it, and it's probably the will at the fans getting me through it. But I mean, yeah, at that time, if you would have asked me a week beforehand, would I be playing in JPT, I'd be like, no. I wouldn't have foreseen it. It was not in the cards until that phone call. And I only went in out of, obviously, I went in due to the fact that I've been there a few times and I've enjoyed myself, and I thought, well, I owe it to them just to go in and see how it is, but with no intention of thinking I'd sign.
Yeah, I said that's your third spell, so it's a loan and then a signing, and then you come back again. But we mentioned at the very start that you so loved there. At that stage, was your stock, obviously it got however what to follow, but like were you welcome back as a hero?
Yeah,
or did you have to prove yourself again, or what was?
No, I had to prove myself. I was welcome back with open arms, but like anyone says, it's like people say it's not as good as the first time, or you know, you be wary. Do you know what I mean? The second time syndrome, and obviously there's a few people saying all that, but I just went with the expectation level of just go in, get fit, enjoy yourself, and showcase what you can do again. And that's basically what materialised. It was a fresh start for me of a year and a half of not enjoying football, not enjoying my life per se. I was just both on and off the pitch. I wasn't much fun to be around, so it was like literally a new lease of life. And then got a young family. Everything had been turned on its head. So from having, I wouldn't say it was despair, but from not being in a good place to then full circle and playing my best football to enjoying my family life. And then I was living down there. It was night and day. Honestly, it was really night and day, but it took them a few weeks, and obviously when the performances started kicking in, that's when everything clicked, and that's when I fully felt like I was welcome back with open arms. But they'll say they welcomed me straight away, which 90% did, but there was obviously a few doubters, which I proved wrong.
well, that's great. And she said to take it from the low slow and to the biggest high that was to follow. You spoke about your mental struggles before, mental health problems, maybe with the fact that you had to go home, you felt the solution with football. Obviously, you've had what happened with the legal stuff. Then earlier on, I think you even said in Southampton, you used to go home and just shut the curtains and stuff, like you didn't want to face the world. So there is obviously, it took a lot of strength to take yourself away from that comfort zone again and make the biggest leap, in that you actually moved there as well. So do you look back on that moment as like you must be proud of yourself and how far you came from doing that?
I don't know, it was strange. I think the mental side, it was just draining with everything that went on. Like, you don't see it until you step away from it. It becomes a pattern of life and normality. And then once you're in a good position, a frame of mind again, and you're a lot older and you're more, obviously, experienced with life, because, like, for me, I didn't have the tools when I was younger to deal with things, so necessarily I might have been suffering with something, but at the time I just didn't see nothing different. And it's not until I've got older now that I've realised, like, now I've got the tools to deal with things. And that's like, obviously, speaking about football with counsellors and the help they've got now is brilliant. Like, it's only going to be a good thing. I've seen people fall by the wayside with mental health issues, and back then you couldn't tell a manager, I don't feel great, because you wouldn't play you. Simple as. Whereas now I think they've got that leadway, and they've got that, obviously, what's the word I'm looking for, confidentiality with whoever they're speaking to. But this is what I want to enforce in my coaching when, like, I'm doing my B licence now, but the aspect of, I know every kid's not going to make it, but if I can give them tools to navigate through life and to help them personally, then you're doing your job as a coach, because it's not just all about football. So that's like something I've took after playing, which I'm going to take into, obviously, my coaching. And even if it's not coaching, just to be an advocate, to try and help people. Do you know what I mean? Because, like, everyone's got their own battles each and every day, but we don't understand how big and small or how minute they might be, but that's what I mean. I was playing in the Prem Championship. And from an outsider, everyone thinks that's the perfect job. At times, it was unbelievable when the highs were high, But sometimes when the lows are low, they're even lower than you'd expect. And it's about trying to drag yourself up from the floor. And it's, as I said, it's not until I got older that I realised all these things.
Yeah.
I've heard Chris talk about the Kirkland. You know, like, people don't understand that at the end of the day, yeah, we're footballers, we go round, kick a ball for the living, but deep down we're just normal people. We've got emotions, feelings like anyone else, you know what I mean? But because you're put on such a pedestal, people don't expect you to have these feelings, or they expect that they can have an opinion and say something to you which you're not meant to respond to. But everyone's human at the end of the day, so that's the way, I see it.
Yeah, well, of course, as you said, it's admirable to speak like that, and obviously anyone listening who hears that, I can take strength from it. But it's just because you're paid loads of money and you get your name sung by 40, 50, 60, however many thousand people every week, to then not have those feelings, that there's no way those two things can't correlate. And it must even be like the lows after coming off a pitch, being the hero. It must be weird when you walk into your house and shut the door and it's just quiet. And you're like, how's that happened an hour ago, 2 hours ago, whatever?
Well, yeah, I think it is, yeah. It's I used to struggle after night games. I could never sleep. So I would play 8 o'clock kickoff. Sometimes you wouldn't get home till 12 because if you're travelling. And I'd be in bed till 5. I just could not switch off. So I had that battle of them trying to sleep. And then you're chasing lack of sleep. And then you've got to go and train the next day, and you're feeling obviously your maximum. So it's things like that I've heard. Like, I haven't been tested for ADHD or whatnot, but I've read like the signs of stuff, and that's one of the signs: struggling to sleep, or sometimes I was my worst own enemy. Couldn't get out my way of myself. Like, I'd be overthinking. So like, again, like, I put it down. I'm not saying. Like, I did misbehave, and I sometimes did go out and overindulge, and I used to go out at the wrong times. I get into trouble now and again. But again, you don't know whether that's just in your makeup or it's just a part of who you are. But then it correlated with me, like, problems, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So if I wasn't playing or if I felt down, then I'd end up going out and getting into trouble. But as I say, once you get older and you understand yourself, like, emotionally and psychologically, obviously you understand your mindset more, and you can then understand triggers that are coming. You can see if you're feeling like that, well, I'm not going to go out tonight. And I think it gets easier with age, especially the mental side. And even back then, as you say, they're 19 playing in front of 65,000. At the time, I didn't realise, like, how much of a massive moment that was until I got older.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's things like that, you know, and again, I had a tough upbringing. Like, my parents were brilliant, but, you know, we had a tough upbringing. It wasn't easy. But again, that puts you in good stead for later on in life. But and you don't realise what's gone on might have an effect later on in life. So,
yeah,
you know, it's about realising them things. And I think now I look back and, like, you know, I used to when I retired, my first few months I used to think my career was a failure. That's how I told myself, honestly. And it wasn't until, like, my brother and I sat down, I was like, mate, what you've done, you've been at Wembley twice, you're a legend of the club. Anyone snapped their hand off to take that career.
Yeah. And
obviously, the longer it got, then I was more capable of realising that.
Yeah, well, let's talk about that. Those moments, Ted. Yeah. Well, your Barnsley return, as you say, you've welcome back. You've proven doubters wrong. It's that promotion campaign. Did you feel then that you had to be a more senior member of the team because you had more experience? Did you take that responsibility on?
I did. I used to help the young lads out. I was more responsible. But again, a big part of me was banter. So I didn't shy away from the banter side. I think it was a little bit more, you know, under wraps. I wasn't overly assertive as I used to be. So, the fire extinguishers would get left alone now, stuff like that. But I was still the same person. Do you know what I mean? I'm still that was I was in my element when there's banter. So yeah, and then also I took the aspect of, if no one's gonna do it, I'm gonna take it by the scruff of the neck myself and do it.
Yeah,
that's I want to be a leader, and that's the way I thought the older I got.
Yeah, and then obviously you were talking about the Johnson's Pay Trophy final. It's like 2016. Could I explain that day?
Yeah, again, as I said to you about being nervous, I never really got nervous when I got older. Like, lads were spewing up at breakfast, couldn't keep it down. I was like, it's just another game, innit? And that was the attitude I went into that game was, right, if you're playing at Wembley, this is where players turn up and showcase what they're about. They don't have an average game. They go and prove how good they are. And that was every intention I had going into that game. I remember looking at the fullback before the whistle kicking off. And it was a Kenny who played for Everton.
Oh yeah, John.
He played left, right back, and I was like, "Are you ready?" Shouting over to him, "Are you ready? Let's have it today, lad." And literally, that was it. I went into that game thinking, right, this is where players are made at Wembley, and people have legacies. I forget what the sign is. There's a sign, the sign that says. I remember taking a picture before the first game there. The sign that said, "Where players enter and legends leave." That was the sign, and that's what happened to me twice there. But going into that game, I didn't see it as a good omen because every time I went to watch Liverpool previously the last few times they had lost. So I was like, I can't be arsed with another defeat at Wembley. And we did go behind. We had a terrible first half, and then second half, I think I set the first goal up, and then Fletcher got the second, and then got it on just inside my own half and had a little run. I remember doing the step overs, the biggest step overs in the world because I was knackered. Honestly, it's just like, and then shifted it, and someone ran across, and I just used the defender as like a guideline to whip across, and lucky enough for me, it went in. And then, as you say, in the celebration, someone went to celebrate. Ivan Toney ran into me and hit the deck. When you just turn and like, have you seen when? Goats just go head to head. We sort of hit each other and both like span off in different directions, and then I've ran to the fans, he's ran off the other way, and we've ended up hanging on, entered 3-2, and that was the first game at Wembley, which obviously was one of emotion, joy, ecstasy, but then it was shortly lived because we had a game on a Tuesday night. So we had to get straight back into game mode. But again, this is what I'm saying about Leadway. The gaffer let me and a few of the older lads stay up and have a few drinks, where the young lads were like, no, go back to bed. Yeah. And then Eki was like, I sent one of the young lads out to get a crate, and he's come back and the gaffer's seeing us on the table. What do you want to say here? And him being him, he just said, what's going on here? I just said, look, we're just having a few drinks. He went, sound, I'll take 8 cans, and took them to his room himself. And then just said, just make sure he's all right for Tuesday. And then that was it.
Yeah, were you all right on the Tuesday?
No, I think we lost. Obviously we ended up sneaking into, because when that season I joined, we were bottom of the league when I joined in November, obviously in the JPT, and we've ended up from getting bottom of the league, I think it was, all the way up to sneaking in the playoffs on the last day. So we played the league winners, which were Wigan that year, and I think we beat them 4-1 away and just about made it. And obviously we had the momentum going into the playoffs then. And I towards the back end of that season, whoever we played, we thought we'd beat them. Like that was just, it was like, the steamroll effect. It was just game by game, going into each and every game. We were like, we beat anyone. But then we were playing Millwall in the playoff final, who notoriously a tough team to play against physically. On the pitch, the fans can be daunting. There was chaos before the game, fighting. You can see it, obviously. You're playing on the pitch, but like obviously I was on the left hand side, and I'm looking up, and I could just see like scraps happening everywhere. The police getting involved, and it's hard to then try and then focus back on the game when you've seen that. But I think we were 2-0 up after 20 minutes in that game. That was obviously me best goal. 30 yards and just cut in. I never normally shoot from there. I've been working with a sports psychologist in the lead up to them 2 games who was talking to me about, I think it was a muscle memory, and obviously if you paint a picture in your mind before the game, and he was telling me to relay it into the game, go somewhere on the pitch and visualise yourself scoring. Visualisation, that was it. And I'd done it in both games and in the exact same spots, and I scored from the exact same spots. And he was saying basically what happens is when you get in that position, because your mind seeing that picture, it takes over. And that's what I was saying. I got the ball 30 yards out. I'd normally drive into the edge of the box, and I just remember hitting it. And obviously it went in the top corner, but as I say, that's by doing that work, visualisation. I'd never normally shoot from there. Fortunately enough, again, that went in, top bin, and then the world's worst knee slide to come after that.
At least you didn't. You visualised the goal, not the knee slide, maybe. Then you spent more time on that. But yeah, that must be the pinnacle, both of those moments. And can you bottle that feeling? Can you explain that feeling? Is it then a drive to try and repeat that feeling? Like, is that as good as it ever gets?
You want it, obviously, because you're moving up in the leagues. And we done really well. We were like top 10 all season. We were flying when we went in, but then we lost our key players. So we had like Hourahan, Bree, Roberts, Mawson all left. And we were in a position in the Championship after that season of going up. If we would have got backed in January, I think we would have made the playoffs. I really do. I think we had a chance. We had such a good team the season we went up, and even into that season. It's like some of the players that in them 2 seasons we had Ivan Toney, Harvey Barnes, Ryan Kent, Josh Brownhill, just to name a few of them. So you can imagine in the space of 2 years to have all them players, then to the year after replacing them. No disrespect, because a lot of players come in and done well, like Ethan Pinnock, but we had players come from the conference to try and replace these players, and then obviously relegated after another year. So it just shows sometimes when you lack ambition, rather than just while the iron's hot strike. I thought we could have really kicked on.
Yeah, but as you say, it doesn't quite go to plan, and so it takes a while. But you're relegated back down to League One.
Yeah,
that's where your like Barnsley journey ended and stuff like that. So I think
that was that's when honestly. I think that was like the first blow I had, where like when I look back now, that's when it hit me. I was like, right, I felt a bit got taken out of me, and then everywhere I went, I wasn't really, I wouldn't say he's interested into it, but I wasn't really, I don't know, I wouldn't even say committed. It was strange. I'd go into clubs, but I just felt like I wasn't myself anymore.
Yeah.
Do you know,
it wasn't your club.
It wasn't my club, and I couldn't replicate that feeling of trying to leave everything on the pitch, and I just wasn't invested as much as I should have been. So that's the word I was looking for. I wasn't invested. I think it was St Mirren, and I'd done well there, but Scunthorpe, and that's when if I could have stopped playing, it would have been after that game.
Yeah, but it's obviously what I think I heard you say that you didn't necessarily know you were leaving. So how tough was that? How did you find out, and how tough was that?
I found out on holiday in Dubai. Got a text off me mate saying you've been released. I was like, what? And as I say, new owners had come in at the time. So what I mean, I spoke about it recently to the fans, and they've like not apologised, but like they didn't understand why I left and the reasoning behind it. And then I've left it at quite a few years, but like it's obviously in the past. I got new owners now, but at the time we got relegated. Speaking to a few clubs, one from Australia, MLS, and this new manager Stendhal come in. We met in the summer, had a cup of tea. Basically agreed the contract. I was willing to take half a wage cut just to stay at them. And then I think it was midway in August, he was like, the board won't do it because your age, you got no sell-on value. And I was just like, there's no sentimental value, no. And he was like, no, we want you, but they won't do it now. And I was like, well, you would have known that 6 weeks ago, but you strung me along. And then I've rejected clubs in the meantime, even some in the champ. I've rejected clubs and then I'm left in the lurch then. It's like I didn't sign for anyone until September, the end of September then. And that's when, yeah, I think after that it was just a little bit more of a struggle to get up for each and every game. As you say, that made me not lose the love for football, but like the fairy tale side again went away. It was like, I took a hit from that. And then, yeah, it was just like a little spiral then, and just not as interested as I should have been. I think it was more about just seeing my career out, and it was a job then. That's how I seen it.
Yeah, well, I'd say St Mirren was next. Did you relocate there, or what? Were you traveling from?
I had an apartment, but again,
it's just
I done my shoulder in. Oh, was this one? Yeah. So I snapped both of my ligaments off my collarbone in my first game. So cortisone injections for the next 4 weeks. I was only there for 8. Needed pinning, but I didn't get it pinned. So I got the injections, and then I ended up, I think I scored like 4 goals and 5 assists in 12 games. So I had 80% of I was involved in like salaries now, 80% of all the goals. But the thing is, I couldn't train, so I play on a Saturday, and then it wear off after 75 minutes. I could go on until the Thursday and come back. Do you know what I mean? Because I genuinely couldn't train.
Yeah.
So it was pointless me staying down there. And then obviously the later on in the move, when it started to ease up and that, the family would come down, the kids. So it wasn't really that bad. And if we did go home, it'd be me and Timmy and Jackson. He lived in Sheffield, and we'd just drive in on the Monday and then drive back on the Tuesday. It was, and then we just shared the driving like that. So I stayed down maybe. If I was there for 4 months, probably stayed about 10 times.
I would say it was a brief spell, but there's another moment from the halfway line again. Adam Bogdan this time was in goal.
Oh yeah, the old Liverpool.
Yeah, so again, you've shown there you had the quality, you had interest from the Championship. Is there any regrets then? Obviously, you couldn't foresee what was going to happen at Barnsley. Was there regrets that you didn't take the MLS move?
Probably, I'll say the MLS, because I think at the time it was not as good as it is now. I remember one of my old teammates, Bradley Roy Phillips, was over there playing. Even Australia, you could probably have played there till my age now, 36, and I would have kept fit there, do you know what I mean, and just keep taking over. But there's no regrets now, because obviously everything happens for a reason. But looking back, you do wonder, like, if I would have took that contract. But that's all in. You're saying now, innit? It's like, what?
Yeah.
There's no point in looking and thinking what could have happened, because then you start overthinking again. But as I say, the St Mirren one, there's a few good goals I scored. That one, Hibs and Hearts, they were both in the same week. So one was on the Saturday, which was, I scored 2 against Hibs. One was a volley from 40 yards. So I volleyed it 40 yards over the keeper, and then scored from the halfway line on the Tuesday. I was like I was never a great goal scorer. I was a scorer of great goals, basically.
Yeah, well, I'm sure people would take that one. That's fine, yeah. And then I think Derry follows, is that right?
Derry, yeah. After Scunthorpe, no, went Scunthorpe for a year again.
Was it Scunthorpe it says, sorry.
It's just, again, like, that was just ticking boxes, and I just wasn't enjoying it. Like, I wasn't myself, so that fizzled out there. I ended up going to Derry, which I really enjoyed, actually. It was an opportunity to go and play in the Europa League, which is why I done it. They were in the Europa League. We got knocked out in Lithuania, but it was another tick in the box, and it was something that I marked on that I'd been able to achieve in my career. But I went over to play for one of my old assistant managers, Decky Devine, and it was brilliant, because it's a different level, obviously, different standard, but it's not as bad as people think. It's a good standard. If you look at the likes of now, saying, is it now Shamrock in the Europa League this season? They're doing all right, got good players, but COVID hit, so I initially went over, played about 10 games and then come back, could have stayed, but with the COVID hitting, I got stuck there for 3 months and didn't see the kids. And it was just before Christmas. As soon as Christmas come, straight home. Missed the last 2 games. I was like, I'm not chancing it. And then as soon as I left there, I was like, that'll do me.
Yeah.
The year out then.
So was at that point, have you retired then? Is that, are you
after,
saying that?
After Derry.
That's because I know you still play football after, but is that your head?
That was
done,
it. As soon as I finished at Derry, I was like, that's me done professionally.
Yeah. And then obviously we'll go on to Remacher, Prescott Cables, where there's another goal against Ashton Athletic in the FA Cup, which is another special one. At Maghull now. I spoke to Emil Heskey years ago, and he said he loved footy that much. He played in Australia, he played for Bolton and all that, and that was his step down the ladder. But he said he couldn't go any lower because everyone just tried to 2-foot him, and he lost all the love for it. You must have that. You're playing at such a low level compared to where you were.
Yeah, you do.
Are you getting targeted, and did that ever put you off?
No, well, I think it was a lot different. It was more, I think refs were more lenient when Emil went down, or it would have went down. So it's obviously quite a few years later then when I started playing for Remacher. I only joined Remacher because my nephew was there, James, so I got to play with him, which was good. And then he went to Prescott, played with him there. But even now, you get protected at this level by refs. Sunday League's the one where they miss everything. Do you know what I mean? That's where you can get it. But I think people are surprised that I can look after myself on the pitch. I don't shy away from a tackle, so I'm not. If you're gonna go in for a 50-50 with me, then you best go in hard, because I'm going in. So it's one of them. I think I've got that sort of understanding from players, and like the players who I remember speaking to a few of them, and they've gone, we thought you were going to be massive time, and I've had a laugh with them on the pitch. You know what I mean? For me, it's enjoyment. It's all about enjoyment now. That's all it is, because I can't really move anymore. But just being on the pitch, having the banter, just the Saturday's the best day. I hate training still, but like on a Saturday, just turning up, getting excited for the game, playing the game, going having a pint after with the lads, the camaraderie. That's exactly why I'm still playing.
Yeah, but as you said, there's not many people who do it, so it does show that there's a love for it. Well, we'll have some finishing questions on your career, and we'll have a quick break, and we'll finish off the next bit a lot shorter, don't worry. Yeah. Just to start off, best moment of your career?
The first time at Wembley. Like, people think it would be obviously the second time because the goal, but I think obviously the first time you do it and you experience it, you're not getting. It's the first time you've experienced that emotion. You're not going to replicate it, even though we did. But I mean, you're never going to get that initial feeling of scoring at Wembley and winning at Wembley. That first time I ever done it, it was like euphoric. I've never experienced anything like it, and I don't think I ever will.
Yeah, and then on the other side of it, the worst moment?
Getting relegated on the last game away at Derby. Yeah, that was tough to take, and then that being my last ever game and stuck on 199 for them. Not even got me 200 appearance, so yeah, that'll be it. And
then if there's one game you could go back and replay, it can either be to relive it or to change it, what would it be?
The debut against Liverpool.
What would you do?
Just to experience it again, because I can't remember it. I've tried to watch it back. I've tried to find it back. I remember how I played in the game in certain parts, but I'd love just to go back and see it or to experience it again, because I think, as I said here, it was just that I'm so quick in that game. And I remember coming off, and it was my birthday as well, just after my birthday. So we had a meal booked that night and seeing all friends and family. Obviously played in that game, and it's just a whirlwind that everything happened so quick that I sort of lost touch with what actually happened in the game. So it would be that. Yeah,
and then final one: how do you want football to remember you? Because obviously there's future to come, like the coaching and all that.
I wanted to. Well, obviously playing is to. I hope fans have had a smile on the face when they've seen me play. I hope I've entertained them. Moving forward, I want to leave a lasting memory of someone who's honest, hard work and trustworthy, and obviously can implement good players as well as humans. You know what I mean? That's what I want them to be able to be.
Yeah, right, that's good. Well, thanks so much. I said there's a little bit more left, but thanks so much for your career. I really enjoyed that. And we'll see you in a sec. Hello, welcome to the third section. We're going to talk about football history now. First one is your first memory of football or the first game that comes to mind.
Not necessarily my memory, but it was my dad throwing me in the air when Ray Houghton scored against Italy. Remember that? And we were in Pleasure Island, which was towards towards the end of town that way. Do you remember the big Pleasure Island place? No, you could go roller skating and all that in there. And I remember he must have had a bet up and he threw me up in the air. But the one I remember would be my first ever Liverpool game. It was Liverpool Ipswich and we got beat 1-0. A player called Paz scored. So that was my first memory of football.
Okay, great. And then, as a fan growing up, was there a best game that you remember watching or going to?
There's been so many. Obviously, fortunate enough when you're at Liverpool, you get tickets for every home game allocated. I'm trying to think. The best game I went to for the atmosphere would be the famous ghost goal, Luis Garcia.
Yeah,
I just remember the last 20 years holding on. And it was, just that atmosphere at the end of the game when we won was the most memorable.
So talk about that as well. Is it not having friends in the team and stuff like that? Would that make it better? Because you would have known some of the players who were playing then as well.
Yeah, I think it does. Yeah, it has that effect also. But yeah, you know, the next day in training is going to be everyone's on cloud nine, so it's going to be a good atmosphere to be in and around. But I wouldn't even say necessarily for that. It was just I've never heard noise like it in Anfield, and we all know how special them European nights are.
Yeah, would you join in with the chants and all that as a fan, as a player?
Yeah, like 1,000,000%. I'll be singing, like the whole way through, and like sometimes, obviously you will get recognised, but it didn't really bother me because first and foremost, I was a Liverpool fan and a player. Secondly, as a player, that's the way I seen it. Do you know what I mean?
Okay. Well, we'll go on to the next one. Will be the best era in football. So obviously, it can be one you played in or before.
No, I've got two. Late 90s, start of 2000.
Yeah.
And it was like, I remember the late 90s would have been your Sedans and then going. This is the way I looked at it. So if you look at the 90s, the late 90s, I used to remember watching Channel 4, Serie A.
The Italian 90s.
And then
obviously,
Sky Sports 2000s was La Liga. And then I think in 2010, the Premier League took over then. So it was like they had their own sort of, obviously, time period, and now obviously the Prem's got the most backing. But I remember the 2000s, that Barcelona team was special. Used to love watching them.
Yeah. Okay, the next one are the ones I've asked you to prepare if possible. So top 5 teammates. We do that one first. 5-a-side teammates.
So 5-a-side. Like I was saying to you before, I was fortunate enough to train with them, so I wouldn't really class them as playing. But I mean, it'd be at Liverpool. I remember it'd be Reina, Hippier, Carragher, who else was there? Alonso, Gerrard, and then Fowler. So it'd have to be someone to get taken out. It'd have to be Hippier, sorry. But they were the ones that I'd say that I trained with, but I couldn't really say that they would be the 5-side that I played with.
They're like the best players you've seen.
The ones I played with in goal would be Emi Martinez. So we come on loan at Rotherham. Wow. Played a few games with him. And again, believe it or not, this is what I mean, going back to the manager. He used to zing the ball out to the fullbacks and the fullback miscontrol it and the manager would blame Emmy. And she's like, just get it long to the forward. But even back then, you could see his kicking. It was unbelievable. His shot stopping, brilliant. Defender would be Kieran Trippier. He was at Barnsley with me. He was absolutely brilliant at the time. He was obviously... I think he's spoken about it, didn't he, when he went to Burnley or Tottenham? That he become more professional. He lost weight, but at the time he was just up and down. He could defend 1v1, and his delivery was spot on. In the midfield, I would have Adam Lallana. I was with him at England and Southampton, and I used to room with him at Southampton. Mate, never seen anyone with ability on the ball like him with 2 feet. He was never quick, but he glide past players. He was just so technically more advanced than anyone else I had ever played with.
That Cruyff turn, he beat anyone.
It was 2 feet though, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Right or left. He's another player. I think 2 players I've ever seen it. Ryan Kent might have been one actually, but they take a corner with both feet. Santi Cazorla, he was another. So yeah, like that's what I mean. I'm obviously study the game. I've watched most games. I still even do now, so I know a lot about football, and that's why I knew Santi Cazorla's one, Ryan Kent's another, but Adam Lallana made technically far superior than the majority have seen. Another would be Harvey Barnes. Again, when he come in, he was absolutely one of them players that would just get you off your seat. Rapid, and he had an eye for a worldie. Just to cut inside, similar to what he's done at Leicester, even now at Newcastle. As soon as he gets it on that right foot, you know what he's going to do. He's going to whip it, like similar to what I used to play, like, but just didn't have the pace. But yeah, he was so quick, so direct. He's not one of them wingers who was a skillful winger. When I say skillful, I mean like step overs, drag backs. He was very direct and deliberate with what he was going to do, but it was so effective. And up front would be Ivan Toney. Again, he didn't get as much game time as he should have. I think it was just because the fact we were on such a good run that he was coming on, starting a few games, but he had that penalty even at us. He used to just stare at the keeper. You'd know where the ball is and just walk up and then send you the wrong way. But yeah, do you know what I liked about him? He was only a young lad when he come on now. So much aggression. And you know, at such a young age, he might have been 19. If someone's putting themselves about against the our-last defenders who've got the experience and the know-how, and he's battling and giving it just as much as you're getting it, and you can see what he can do in training on the pitch, you know they've got a chance.
Yeah.
And obviously he made the Euro squad, and the amount of goals he scored in the Premier League, and yeah, his hold-up play as well. Another plus, he was a Liverpool fan. I just remember speaking to him about Liverpool when he was at Barnsley. But yeah, I wouldn't mind his contract now.
What to say? What do you think about that? Like, just do what you would you have done it? And yeah.
Towards the back end, yeah, because you know you only get one shot at it. You only get one career. I think it's a strange one. Would I have done it? It depends what club I was at and where I was at. If you're at the top of your game and you're in a top 6, top 5 club, maybe not. If you're competing for trophies week in, season in, season out, and I understand that he was getting in the England team, but he wasn't competing for trophies. He was never ever going to. So, you know, what's he done there? He's gone and set his family up for life and their family. So you can't blame them. It's like the one I use it as an analogy is, if you were working for British Gas and Scottish Power come to you and said, here's an extra £500 a week, what are you going to do?
Yeah. I
know it's a different level of money, but I mean, at the end of the day, it's still a job. But I think if you're at your club, like if I was at Liverpool and I got offered to go there, then I probably wouldn't. No, I definitely wouldn't.
Yeah.
But then it's like Salah now. Like I'm under the illusion that he won't go until he gets the Ballon d'Or. I think that's why he's staying until he gets it, and then once he gets that, I think you'll see him go.
You'll see the money. I'm sure he'll get double what Ivan Toney's on probably as well. Right, the next one then is the top 5 players of all time. Oh. Sorry, if you can put them 5 to 1, that'd be good. But if not, just give me the 5. That's fine.
I'm trying to think today, but I did have an order, and again, it's tough because I've heard people speaking about you like see your Romarios, but I wasn't young. I wasn't old. I was too old. Well, not too young to see them, yeah, to remember them. So I'm only going off the ones that I've seen. Number 1 would be by and far the best player I've ever seen, Lionel Messi. Like incredible. He is a player that you pay to see.
Yeah.
And I'd even give a tout $250 to go and watch him. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, just his numbers every single season, even now at 37, 38. I know it's obviously the MLS, but what he done in the World Cup for Argentina, he won them at that age.
Yeah.
And yeah, he's the best I've ever seen. At number 2, I would go Zinedine Zidane. He was another player that just oozed elegancy. Like that first touch, I always remember one where Barthez threw me, and it was going over the shoulder, and it done the Cruyff in mid-air and sent freedom the shot. You know, and I like that he had that fiery side about him. You look, the headbutt, the Kirby kiss on it. But I like that he had that side to him, a bit of an edge, but on the ball, 2 feet, technically a master. And he won everything. Same with Messi. These are players that have won everything. In number 3, Stevie G. And that's like sentimental side of it is me being a Liverpool fan. Captain fantastic, the best player I've ever seen in a red shirt. How many trophies has he won for us? And the only, obviously, the one that got away was that Premier League. And that's where I think he's so underappreciated by any other fan in England. Because if he would have won that Premier League, it'd be no doubt he's the best midfielder in English history. Yeah. Even one of the best players, like top 3 players in English history.
Top 3 players ever, according to you.
Oh, yeah. He won that like at Istanbul, that final. I was at the West Ham one. Actually travelled back with the first team on the plane. But I remember being at that game when he just dragged them out by himself, single-handedly. So that's 3. Number 4. My favourite player ever to watch. Messi. Ronaldinho. Like, he was just levels above anyone I'd seen for technical ability, skill, vision. Do you know, like, I just remember watching him as a kid, and I used to stay in on a Saturday purposely to watch La Liga and to watch him. What do you do? Like, you get a ball, sing to him 60 yards off a keeper, turn his back and back it to someone, and he used to control the ball with 3 players around him on his chest and then flicker over them. Some of the things I've seen him do, it's like a circus act, innit? But again, his numbers, he was so productive. I think what hindered him was the lifestyle, wasn't it? The lifestyle.
Yep, but I think all the Premier League players are asked to start of each year, like, who's the biggest inspiration. I think after he's like won by a landslide at the moment, so he's like he's an entertainer. I think that's what it is. He
is someone you pay to watch. And then last one would be Ronaldo, but what one? I didn't see enough of. That's my favourite. Would, like, obviously when you watch YouTube and you see the highlights, and I did see him, but I think I didn't see the best of him. It was R9, but like when he was fit, like at Barcelona, the clips I seen him, because I was too young to remember him at Barcelona, but that goal he scored where he took the whole team on. Bobby Robinson was manager. Was it Bobby Robinson?
Like the couple of his cup finals.
He was just incredible. Like, he was the fastest thing on 2 legs, both feet, right foot, left foot. He could score over his head. His one-touch passing. He could turn. He could play on the shoulder. He could link up play. He could do everything, literally everything. But then, obviously, the times I do remember him was the hat-trick at Old Trafford. Remember that game? So that was one of his better. But the memories I've got of him of Real Madrid when he was getting on. So it'd be between him and Cristiano. And again, obviously being a store and shred, that you wouldn't want to put anyone that play for Man U. But I just look at him and I think, just for his numbers, again, his dedication, he was manufactured. He worked on himself that much in the gym. Obviously, the hours he put in, the effort, that he become the best in his position, because the hard work, the sacrifice and the dedication he put in. And let's be honest, he wasn't a bad player. Some of the goals he had scored, left foot, right foot, headers. He wasn't an all-round centre forward, but again, he come as a winger and adapted to being the best number 9 in the world. So that just goes to prove how much of a good player he was. Yeah, but as you say, I think it's hard to argue with any of those 5. There's always people who will moan that people have missed out, but that's a good top 5, I'd say. We'll have our final break, and I want to settle some of the biggest debates in football history. So we'll see you in a sec.
The debate.
Final section, the debate. Thank you. Here we are. We've made it all the way. And the first question is Gerrard, Lampard or Scholes. Can you put them in order for us? Yeah. So this is an hard one, isn't it? But there's certain number 1, which is Stevie G. Obviously, we were saying before, he's the most complete midfielder out of them all.
and he was the best at them all at Everton. So his tackling, I think his passing, he just had Everton. He could play, if you put him right back or left wing, which he played for Liverpool in both. He's still the best player on the pitch. He could affect it, but if you'd done the same with Scholes and Lampard, I don't think they would be. So Steven Gerrard was just whatever position you put him on the pitch, he'd be the best player. So for me, out and away, number one. Number two would be Scholes. Again, he would technically, his range of passing second to none. He'd dictate play, his one touch round the corner, his vision, the goals he scored. He was, I'd say, which would be a number 8. He was unbelievable in it, wasn't he? Like just between the holding and not that quite the attacking one, just the one that dictates everything. He was just incredible. But Lampard again, what another player. I've got his top after playing against them. Should have been sent off. He scored 2 against us. But I just felt with Frank Lampard, he was so good at what he done, and he probably didn't get credit for being as good as he was, because he only got recognised for his goals, arriving into the box late. We get into double figures every year. But I didn't really see much of him centre mid. I didn't see, he wasn't that player that was going to dictate the game, was he? He wasn't that player who was going to really make that tackle. He was more influential in scoring goals, but around the pitch, I think Gerrard was the most influential, and then I'd say Scholes second, and then Lampard third.
Okay. So the next one then is Pele or Maradona?
I don't know. I'd just go Maradona. I loved them. Obviously never seen him play, but when you watch YouTube, documentaries on him, it was just mad, wasn't he? I've seen some of the warm-ups he's done. He's got to be off his head when he's doing them. He's doing commando rolls. He's doing keepy-ups with his shins. He seemed like the perfect teammate to have in your team. It'd never be a dull day. And then obviously the goals that he scored as numbers, but for me, it'd just be fun to be around. Pele, to be honest, I've only seen a few clips of him. His numbers again are incredible, but again, different eras, isn't it? So I'd say Maradona them.
That's fine. And then the next one is Messi or Ronaldo.
Messi.
Is that a debate for you? Or?
No, nowhere near. You've got one that's naturally gifted, one that wouldn't even go to the gym probably. Just give him a ball and let him go and do it. Whereas Cristiano, I think, said before, was manufactured. He put the time, the effort, the dedication in, and he become what a wonderful player he was, but he was nowhere near the levels. Messi is far and above him.
Great. And if they are the best 2 players of the last 10, 15 years, who would you say is their best behind them?
This is a tough one, isn't it? Because I go off consistency, and there's no one, especially in the last 10 years, there's no one that's been consistent as Salah, I wouldn't say. I think he's been consistently, his numbers have been always double figures for assists and goals, but I don't think he is as pleasant on the eye as other players, as your Hazards, them types of players. But for me, this could range from anyone. I wouldn't like to pick one certain player, because I think there's been that many, like the season that Suarez had. There's just so many that, like Zlatan's another one who I looked up to, but I wouldn't say there's anyone that was out and out to stand out. I think they were all in a group of, there was legendary, world class, and then class. I think they were all in the class category. Category. So you had the class category. Sorry. Whereas then it was Ronaldo and then Messi. I think they'd all be fighting it out. I wouldn't just say one. Yeah.
So okay, it's 2 close. That's fine. Next one's goalkeepers. We've got Buffon, Casillas, and Neuer. Could you put them in an order?
I'll go the one you said it in, Buffon, Casillas, and then Neuer. But again, it all depends on what style of play and what era you are. Because I'd say Buffon more or less done it in every era, didn't he? He was the most. He had the most appearances. He went to Paris Saint-Germain, didn't he? And then he'd done it. That was only a few years back. But Neuer be your sweeper keeper, whereas the other two were unbelievable shot stoppers. I think Buffon would edge you. Be the best.
Right, then next one. I think I know what you're going to say, but club or country. So I normally ask it in that: win the league with Liverpool or win the World Cup.
I've represented the country on numerous occasions, different levels, and I don't know whether I've never sung the anthem. There's always be club first, no matter what.
Yeah,
no matter what.
I thought you'd say that. That's fine. Next up, then, if you've got one, I asked you one for most overrated player ever. Is there one that you want to say?
It's tough, isn't it? I don't think anyone. It's a tough one because you wouldn't be a professional footballer if you weren't good. I just think it's the one that we'll talk about now. Be Rashford because there's a lack of form, but on his confidence. I don't know what that is. I wouldn't say he's overrated, but you see players, don't you, every few years who just drop off the face of the earth, and he just seems to be another at the minute.
Yeah.
From the numbers he had, maybe, but it was only for like 2-3 years, wasn't it? Then the last 2 years, and even now, it's just there's a player in there somewhere, but you just can't put a finger on what it is. But overrated, I wouldn't. I think there was. You've got to have a certain amount of ability to be a professional footballer. So I wouldn't say there's anyone overrated. It was just players who disappoint you and drop off the face of the earth.
Yeah, okay, that's fine. And then the next, there's 2 more to go. So we've got, we'll go. The second to last one will be the greatest manager ever.
So if I'm going off myself watching football, the most successful ones would be Guardiola.
I think they mentioned to me about Guardiola, Ferguson, yeah.
Ferguson. Because he just, like, I love Klopp as a man manager. I think if Klopp had the players they had at their disposal, then he would have literally done the same, or if not a better of a job. But for me, the most consistent over them years, who won Everton and also had the art of knowing when to refresh it, would be Alex Ferguson. You wouldn't want to get on the wrong side of him. You only look at what he done to Beckham when he sent him packing because he didn't like what he was doing off the pitch. I think he's been the best manager that I've seen.
Yep. Okay, and then the last one is the best team ever. So this could be like Brazil 1970, whatever. But like for a week, for a season, for a couple of years, whatever. What's the best team?
There's four that come to mind. So you got the Galacticos with Madrid.
Yep.
The Figo, the Beckham, the Sedans, Guti, Ronaldo. Yeah, they had all them. The Man City that won Everton. The Barcelona at the 2000s. And I'd say the Liverpool under Klopp that have steamrolled that season. But I'd go Barcelona when they had Ronaldinho, Henry. They had every player in their team in a position. Apart from centre back, maybe right back was world class. But for me, it was just the entertainment value that you knew every single game you were going to be entertained regardless of the score. Whereas there be certain games with Liverpool where we wouldn't be quite at it, or obviously other teams wouldn't be quite at it. But that was the one that I used to look forward to the most watching every Saturday night or Sunday evening. It'd be Sky Sports, watch Barcelona, and I'd always go out my way to watch it.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's great. I don't think you're gonna beat that one either. The most shouts I think have been for Barcelona, maybe a couple of years later or whatever. But that period, that 10-15 year period,
even the other one, the ones with your Messi's,
like Vieira and all
Iniesta,
and then there's also Suarez, Neymar, Messi.
For me, it'd just be for sentimental value. The Messi, Ronaldinho one, and he was up front? Was it Henry?
Yeah, just Henry and Neto as well, wasn't it?
But then he didn't. Ibrahimovic come a lot later. But I mean, that one with Eto'o, Henry, Messi, Ronaldinho. Mate, imagine
Not bad, eh?
it's just imagine being a defender and watching that. I'm thinking,
You would be able to double up on any of them, would you?
oh, you wouldn't.
All right, well, that's the end of the chat. Thanks so much. I really do appreciate going through everything. Is there anything for people watching at home you want them to look at, share, say anything? Or
I
just
appreciate
it?
Appreciate you having me.
No, it's been an honour. It's really good. And as you say, you're so loved by Barnsley fans. It's mad when you look at stuff like you go on trying to research and everything. It's all just everything about them. So I'm sure you already know, but it's amazing to have someone of that stature to sit in that chair, and it is very nice.
No, I appreciate it.
Okay,
just wait for me statue to up.
All right, that's great. Well, thanks very much for watching at home, and we'll see you next time on the Football Historian Podcast.
I can't